The other big part of, or another, one of the other major parts of um, running a political campaign is money. It's key to running a successful campaign. It doesn't take a lot in most local races, but it does take some. There's materials, there's systems, there's staffing, there's legal aid, there's petitioning, there's filing fees. These are all things that can cost money, right? And the reality is volunteers are great, but if you want to smoothly run an organization, you at least need some stipend or paid staff to give you a consistent basis from which the volunteers can work off of. The reality of volunteering is that most screens are already super volunteers and are already stretched too thin, and things get dropped. And so, the reality is, I know a lot of Greens like to talk about no money campaigns and this other type of campaign that doesn't involve raising money. But as of yet, I've not seen anyone successfully, illustrate what this is, other than just virtue signaling about money in politics. The reality is, if we don't want to exploit our volunteers, if we want to make sure the people throwing down for our campaign are getting paid for their labor, if we want to be able to pay filing fees, if we want to be able to print yard signs and door hangers and materials and all that kind of stuff, we need to raise some money. So donation processing is an important thing that campaigns need to get figured out. In Illinois, generally, we won't endorse your campaign if you don't have a bank account, because it tells us you're not going to raise money and you're not going to run a serious campaign. This one, again, starts with a qualifier. You should be talking to your state party first. If your state party has Nation Builder, if your state party has Action Network, if your state party has City CRM, these all offer existing donation tools, right, that you should be able to connect your campaign bank account to and create your own donation portals. And that means you won't have to worry about any of this finding other options. That said, if it's not an option, you do have a few options. And so Action Network, Nation Builder, and City CRM, they all have standard transaction fees, which are common, across most major platforms. And Stripe and PayPal are generally, where I see the sources of these fees being. But so for every donation, you're going to pay a fee of 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction. And that, like I said, Stripe, PayPal, that's their standard fee. There are other options where you can, where you can have different pricing things and stuff like that. But that's the basics. You can dig deeper if you want to, if you think another one of their pricing plans might work. But that's the baseline. Donor Box. We used in the early Howie Hawkins campaign. It's a really good system. I liked it a lot. It makes creating donation portals really easy. It integrates well with WordPress. It looks really nice. And people get to stay on your page, which is good. Donor Box has that standard 2.9 plus 30% fees, plus an extra 1.5% fee that is Donor Box's take. So the 2.9%, like I said, is to Stripe or to PayPal or wherever your processor is, and then your portal, which is Donor Box in this case, gets the 1.5%. They offer some other plans. You can look at it where you can get lower per transaction and things like that. Generally, I don't think political campaigns should be worrying much about that 30 cents versus 20 cents versus 10 cents or however it works out, because we're generally, you want to worry about that if you're selling a candy bar, right? If you're selling a candy bar that for $1, then that 30% is a huge part. If your average donation is $25, you don't notice that 30 cents. And it's probably not worth the resources of struggling to find alternative fund, digging through all the alternative funding options. CrowdPack is another one. It's 3.5% plus 20 cents per transaction. They use a service called Democracy Engine as their funding or as their donation processor, I'm pretty sure, unless they've changed it recently. And the big thing, I tried to add Democracy Engine to this, but their pricing page had no info on it, so I couldn't get enough information to find out what their pricing was. So CrowdPack's another one. CrowdPack prides itself on being able to offer you a one-stop shop, right? So you create a little campaign page, you can create posts. I think you can do a little bit of email marketing, and it can take your donations. Personally, I don't find CrowdPack websites to be overly professional. And I don't think they're going to have the tools that you need to run a real strong campaign. But it's an option. People do it. Much like the comment on the NGP van, in this case, you want to avoid Act Blue. Act Blue is the Dem-controlled portal. I think Win Red is the Republican one. But both of them, if you do, if you use these as your services, all your donor information is going straight to the Democratic Party. So we really want green and independent campaigns to stay away from these things. They are big, and the Dems make them available because they would like to siphon off and capture, all of our donor info and things like that. So you want to make sure that you're not using Act Blue similarly to the NGP van.